Well, that's when Eric was in charge, and it was you know Eric, in my opinion, was probably one of the best things that ever happened to WCW. And if anybody ever says it's different, they're fucked up, because he started Nitro, and he's the one that stole talent. He's the one that brought the pay scale up. You might, some guys, I don't know, he paid everybody better. So, I don't know what your agenda is in wrestling, but if it's not to make the most money you can, then, you're a mark, Eric was one of the best things, and he didn't take any shit from anybody, really. So, I remember one time he brought Greg Gagne down, and he tried to weasel his way behind his back, and Eric fired him, so, I have nothing, bad to say about Eric,
Did you really take it upon yourself? I mean, we talked about the Monday Night Wars. Did you personally look at it as we need to succeed and bury Vince, or is there any animosity to or competitiveness with?
Oh, I think everybody wanted to beat him. You understand, that. When we were in WWF at the time, Vince didn't even want to acknowledge WCW. It's like he was living in his own little world, his own box, and he didn't want to think there was any competition. And there is, and there was, and we proved it for 82 weeks straight. We beat him. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we all took pride in beating him.
Did you look every week, look what the numbers were? Was that something you made?
Oh yeah, we all did. We all looked at the numbers, and it was good for WCW, and it proved the point that Vince wasn't the only wrestling organization, and Vince shit wasn't the best, and look at it now, it definitely isn't.
Mm-hmm. Went from Scott Steiner, the collegiate wrestler, the tag team. You had very successful at that, and then you went to become, what your character is now, the Big Poppa Pump. What instigated this change? Was it just an idea thrown out by somebody else, or was this something that you had more control of?
We were asked. Eric came up to us. Eric went to my brother and Sting first and asked what he thought I would think. Then Eric came up to me, but my brother and I had talked about doing something different, because at that point we had wrestled everybody in WCW. We went up to WWF, was world champion. We pretty much beat everybody. There wasn't really nothing else to prove that we were the and so we just we always just thought it was the best, and just the timing was almost perfect where we were thinking about doing something different when Eric came up to us.
So it was pretty much Eric initiated this.
Oh, that was Eric's side. Was thinking about turning me in with the NWO.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've heard it before, but a lot of people say that you're just a modern thing of what Billy Graham did. When people say that to you, what's the response?
Well, I don't. Well, you see, I remember Billy Graham when he had when he was shaved head, blonde, and with two stripes right here, which I initially tried, Mm-hmm. And it was a pain in the ass, so I just switched. I thought this looked better anyways, but it was definitely I thought about, but and I actually never told anybody. I didn't tell anybody until the night of. I actually told my brother, and I ran it by Sting, and Sting thought I should run it by Eric, Other than that, I showed up the next day at the Nitro with blonde hair, and you wouldn't believe that a lot of people didn't even know who I was, It was like, who's that muscled up guy with blonde hair, It was that much of a drastic change, which was good, But I talked to Kurt Hennig all the time, and he was, a big fan of Superstar, and being compared or Superstar Billy Graham is like, he's, Hogan even admits he copied Billy Graham, and a lot of people have, but and I just thought, I just need something different, so I changed it, and I didn't completely copy him, but it looks similar, but it was something I was ready to do,